Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to today's webinar. My name is Jared Hornsby, and I'm here today to help answer any general or technical questions that you may have. But before we get started, I would like to welcome you to today's webinar, 5 Ways to Serve Your Customers More Efficiently. Here's today's timing breakdown. These numbers are just rough, so please don't hold me to these. At any point during today's webinar, if you have a question, please don't hesitate to submit using an Ask a Question tab at the bottom of your screen. You can also chat with your fellow attendees with the audience chat that's going to be at the bottom of your screen. Please let us know where you are coming in from. Here's a little bit about us over at CMSWire. We were founded in 2003, and we cover the primary topics that you see here on this slide. You can read more of our great content and register for upcoming conferences and webinars, all by visiting cmswire.com. I'd like to thank today's sponsor, Liferay, for making today's webinar possible. Liferay helps organizations meet their unique challenges by creating innovative, customer-centered experiences. Over from the Liferay side, we have Portfolio Marketing Manager, Mr. David Guerrera. Tell us a little bit more. David, take it away.
Thanks, Jared. Welcome, everybody. I am joined today by my colleagues, my one colleague, Jeff Honda, who is a solution architect here at Liferay. He's launched hundreds of portals basically in the time that he's been here. I love having Jeff on calls because he's got that combination of business expertise and technical know-how. So if you have questions on the how-to of it, Jeff is definitely the great person to have on the call. And I'm also joined by Sarah Kimmel, who's VP of Research at CMSWire. And I'm really happy to have her on, and I'll talk a little bit about that why next. So a big part of serving your customers more efficiently is basically the digital customer experience. How well do you do that? How well do you serve your customers on digital channels? And that's why I wanted to take a moment to talk about the great research conducted in this area by CMSWire in their State of the Digital Customer Experience survey. The survey covers the importance of digital customer experiences, the challenges organizations are facing in this area, and what they plan to do about it. And I believe the research also ties in nicely to the story we want to share with you about using customer portals to really create a world-class customer experience. Before I get to Sarah, a little bit about us. Liferay is a maker of a digital experience platform, and customers all over the world, we have about 1,000+ installations, use our digital experience software to create things like customer portals, intranets, websites, supplier portals, and our customers span across a wide range of industries, including financial services, manufacturing, insurance, education, utilities. The list goes on, but I don't want to spend too much time there. I just want to tell you that our agenda for today is to cover that State of the Digital Customer Experience survey with Sarah, and also talk about the key building blocks for serving your customers more efficiently. And we're also going to give you a little bit of a few case studies of customers who have actually implemented those building blocks to great success within their organization. So Sarah, I really want to go to you first and just ask you to give a little bit of background on that digital customer state of the industry survey, because I believe it dovetails nicely with what we're going to talk about, and you're going to be referring to it as the presentation goes on. So Sarah, I am going to go ahead and hand you your slide here.
Thanks, David. So I'm absolutely thrilled to be here with you today and to share some of the data from the State of the Digital Customer Experience survey for CMSWire. This is data from our 7th annual survey. And so every year, as David said, we survey customer experience leaders about trends and practices in digital customer experience. Today, the data that I'm going to share with you comes from the more than 900 respondents who identified as practitioners who lead, manage, or influence customer experience practices at their organizations. So that's the data that we're going to share today. The respondents are primarily from marketing, customer experience, IT, customer service, and executive leadership roles. And they do come from a broad sample of industry and organizational sizes. So the data is a sample that's broadly representative of the entire CX domain. So I'm going to share the key findings today that are most relevant to customer portal decision making. But if you're interested in a deeper dive, the full report is available for free download on CMSWire. And if you download the slides from the resources tab today, there is a link that will send you to the full report where you can get more information. So let's take a look at some of the data. The first thing that I want to share is that digital customer experience remains a critical priority for organizations. So the largest percentage of organizations ever on our survey, 79%, say that digital customer experience is an extremely or very important priority for them. And when we ask why it's a priority, the top answers include to improve customer success and retention, and to delight customers and strengthen brand value. And some of the top challenges that they're facing are siloed systems, technology integration challenges, fragmented customer data, and outdated or limited technology. Also, the largest percentage of organizations ever on the last survey, 75%, say that their tools are working well or satisfactory. And I want to show you something really amazing. It has been a remarkable transformation over the past few years in the effectiveness of tools and platforms for digital customer experience. In 2019, 50% of CX leaders said that their DCX tools needed work, and only 9% of them said that their tools were working well. In 2020, things were a little bit better, but by 2021, we started to see substantial improvement. And compared to the pre-pandemic, we've seen a doubling in the number of organizations that say their digital customer experience tools are working well. And the number who say that their tools need work has been cut in half. So right now, 3 out of 4 CX practitioners say that their tools are either working well or satisfactory. Of course, the percentage who say that they're working well is still stubbornly low at 21%. So there remains quite a lot of room for improvement here, but the trajectory has been positive year over year improvement since 2019.
Thank you, Sarah. The first thing that we're going to talk about today is the digital onboarding experience. In one of the stats that we saw that over 90% of customers feel that the companies that they buy from could do better when it comes to onboarding new users and customers. I saw another stat that talked about 55% of the customers surveyed having returned a product because they simply didn't know how to use it. So that's problematic, right? If customers don't know how to use your product and they return it, if it's a physical product, it's costly. You have to return the product. There's a cost associated with the returns. It also leads to customers being unhappy with your company. And if you're a SaaS company, if customers can't understand how to use your product, chances are at the end of the year they're not going to renew. They're not going to renew with you. So the good news here, though, is that nearly 86% of the customers surveyed said that they're more likely to stay loyal to a business that invests in a good customer onboarding experience. So my question to Jeff was going to be, how do organizations stay on that 86% side? What can they do in their onboarding experience to ensure that the customer has a great experience, learns how to use the product, gets value out of the product, and hopefully remains a customer over the long haul? So Jeff, I'm going to hand that over to you now.
Yeah, thanks, David. I think onboarding is a great place to start our discussion because it is one of the quickest ways that a modern customer portal can provide value and return on that investment. By taking that onboarding experience and turning it into a digital experience, you're really able to create a superior experience than what you may have been able to do in the past without the right tools and without the ability to personalize. The key is to not just give customers a bunch of materials and expect them to really find this information out on their own. You really want to make sure that each customer is unique. They deserve to have a personalized onboarding experience. Now, to do that, you want to make sure that you're leveraging features in a platform such as segmentation so that you can group different types of audiences together, either based on the type of account or based on the type of purchases that they've made, and make sure that you're giving them an onboarding experience that is appropriate for them. You also want to make sure that you're providing your content creators with the ability to easily create and manage content. Keeping content relevant and timely is critical. Content that's not actively maintained is going to quickly become stale and stagnant, and that's going to affect the perception of your company and as well as the onboarding experience. You want to make sure that you're automating that onboarding journey. Break it down into manageable and discrete tasks, create reminders to gently remind and guide your customers to a successful completion of that journey. And then, once your initial account members are onboarded, let them take over, provide them with some self-service tools so that they can do things like adding additional people into their accounts, giving additional account members access to materials and resources. And ensure that these new users are also getting their own onboarding experience that's meaningful to them as well.
Right. So what I gather from that, Jeff, is that one of the keys to doing this right for organizations is delivering that level of personalization, right? So that onboarding experience is tailored to the audience. Sarah, I wanted to talk a little bit more about that with you because you have some great stats on that area regarding personalization. But before we do that, let's do our first survey here. I just want to survey the audience with our first polling question. And let me see if I can get to that tab. Okay.
All right. So this is actually David, this is one of the questions that we ask on the survey. And we're going to give everyone just a little bit of time here to let us know, how would you describe your organization's use of personalization for customer experience? So if you could, everyone, just go ahead and let us know. Click the answer choice that best applies for you.
Yep. I didn't want to say anything about how organizations are doing with personalization because I don't want to taint the results. So right. As we see the results come in, I'm really curious to find out if they match up with your findings or if we have like some outliers here in the audience right. that are on the opposite end of your findings.
Exactly. I am super curious. So I'm seeing the results come in. We'll just give you like 5 more seconds, and then we'll take a look at these results. We'll let everyone see them. Okay, and what I am seeing so far actually lines up pretty well. So let's go ahead and send those results out to everyone so that everyone can see.
Okay.
All right. And what we're looking at here is about 19% who say that they are already deriving benefits from implementing personalization. Oh, that's down to like 18% now. Let me go ahead. I'm going to send the results. Okay. So, and about, another 35 or 36% who are conducting experiments with personalization. And then everyone else is sort of in the process of, actively evaluating or considering how they would use personalization. And and only about 13, 14% who have yet to invest at all. And the interesting thing here is that this lines up pretty well with the data that we see in our overall State of the Digital Customer Experience Survey. So Jeff was talking about personalization in onboarding. And the personalization issue, it's broader than just onboarding as well. And CX professionals are very aware of this. So critical to onboarding is personalization of the customer experience. And in order to meet customer needs, you need to meet them where they are in the customer journey and tailor information for them. And increasing relevance is about increasing personalization. And what the data tells us is that advances in personalization have stalled out. The numbers year over year are so similar that statistically this is a wash. And it really lines up pretty well with what what all of you were reporting today as well. The only significant change over last year was that the increase in those who are considering personalization but don't have a budget in place. Only 18% of organizations say that they've implemented personalization and are deriving benefits. And at the same time, only 13% say it's not a priority. So organizations want personalization, but it remains aspirational. And clearly it's quite difficult for most organizations. And here's what I can tell you about effective personalization based on our analysis of the past few years' data, right? So we wanted to get a little bit more granularity into exactly what organizations mean when they say that they're personalizing. And what we learned is that sophisticated uses of personalization are quite rare. The percentage of organizations using one-to-few or one-to-one personalization is only 18%. An additional 25 are using personas and data to refine their personalization. But the plurality of organizations are using personalization in a very basic sense. So they're segmenting their audience into basic groups and using automation to send unique messages to those groups. 17% aren't using any kind of personalization, so everyone gets the same message. So what are the factors that increase the likelihood that personalization is more sophisticated and impactful, right? Let's take a look at that. First, doing personalization well appears to be tool and platform dependent. So those who say that their tools are working well are 4 times as likely to be deriving benefits from personalization than those who say that their tools need work. So this suggests that personalization is more effective for those organizations with a more mature digital customer experience tool set. Next, larger organizations are more likely to use personalization. So 57% of organizations with 5,000 or more employees say that they're using personalization in at least a limited way. And that's 46% for mid-sized organizations and 40% for small companies. There is one other variable that's very predictive of the effective use of personalization, but it's related to our next topic, which is empowering customers with self-service. So let's take a look at that first, David. Whoops.
Yeah, thanks, Sarah. Yes, I mean, if you're going to do self-service well, you really have to be able to personalize that experience for the customer. Quick example, I just love when this happens right before I'm about to do a webinar, something relatable that I can tie to. But I was recently at a car dealership and we were going to get a loaner car, but I didn't have my insurance card, my proof of insurance. And, I started to freak out a little bit because we were going to go on this trip and I didn't bring it with me. And then I'm like, oh, wait a minute, I can just go to the insurance portal and look at my, bring up my account, look at my proof of insurance, and showed it to the dealership. And they were like, perfect, that's what we needed. They took it down. And then I was able to drive off and go on our little, weekend trip. So it's just a small example, but it's just the feeling that you get when you work with a company that makes it easy to access your personal information, whether it's just accessing the information or performing a function like, purchasing or tracking an order or submitting a ticket. It's always a great thing when you can go on a site and take care of that stuff yourself without having to call someone on the phone, without having to email someone and wait for a response. And the stat that we saw is that basically nowadays 100% of people expect to have that level of self-service when they're trying to get answers to their questions or perform a function online with an organization they do business with. So I think for the most part, for most companies, it's not a matter of whether they want to do self-service or provide self-service or not. It's a question of whether they have the technical capabilities to provide these services. So Jeff, I wanted you to talk a little bit more about that, about how organizations can deliver what it is that customers really want nowadays, right? Just the ability to be able to take care of my own problems on my own online. Can you talk a little bit about that self-service experience and how organizations can go about putting together an effective self-service user experience for their customers?
Yeah, definitely. I think a modern customer portal experience really needs to, at the very least, cover those basics. And that means giving customers the ability to manage as much or as little of their account details and interactions as they would like. And to achieve this, as Sarah was saying, it's really important that you're working with the technology that provides these capabilities. It's not really about whether or not your customers want it. It's clear customers want it, but do you have an organization? Do you have the tools? Do you have the capabilities to be able to push this capability out and give this to your customers? Now, when we look at the types of tools we're talking about, we really need things that allow customers to manage their own account information, being able to add and remove members as needed. When we're talking about like B2B use cases, we also need to make sure that we're providing self-service access to ordering. Make it easy to view your orders, your order details, where your shipments are, make it easy to initiate returns, and also make it easy to reorder. In many cases, we're reordering the same things on a regular basis. And so being able to quickly and easily reorder with a single click is an important capability to provide. As David was talking about, not all self-service is transactional. Sometimes the customer portal just needs to provide customers with access to information, access to documentation, access to maybe a community forum where they can get their answers to questions. If customers can't solve an answer, if they can't find answers, if they can't solve their problems, then they're going to have to go through creating and managing self-service tickets. Again, when they are filling out tickets, the system should be smart enough to not ask for information that it should already know about them. I think there's nothing more frustrating than going in and filling out a help desk ticket on a system after I've already logged in and then being asked to provide all of that information that already exists in my account. It's kind of that you have this, I gave this information, I trusted you with this information, please use it wisely and don't make me have to re-enter it over and over again. Modern customer portal experiences should really make it easy for customers to schedule visits, schedule appointments, register for courses or events and get educated on your products. And ultimately, the customer portal should really help you to retain your customers, to grow your relationship and your revenue. So it's critical that solution empowers customers so that they can learn about additional products and services. This is another touch point and a very, very important touch point, because when we're talking about a customer portal, these are people that have bought from you once. They're really in a great position to grow that relationship over time if we treat them the right way and if we give them the tools that empower them.
Right. Thanks, Jeff. And, I hear you talking a lot there about things that are predicated on knowing your customers and understanding what your customers want, understanding their behavior and understanding their journey with your product. And we talked a few minutes ago about how personalization was impacted by the tech stack and the organization size. But the single most predictive variable for benefiting from personalization is actually how well you understand your customers. 49% of the organizations who say that they understand their customers well are already deriving benefits from personalization. So you compare that to those who say that they have a moderate understanding, of their customers at 15%, or those with a poor understanding of their customers at 7%. So a good understanding of your customers, it's both a prerequisite and a byproduct of personalization. And that's a really great insight, and it would be wonderful except for one thing. And that is that the percentage of organizations who say that they understand their customers well is 17%. This is possibly the most stubborn metric on the State of the Digital Customer Experience survey. Every year, CX professionals say that they want to understand their customers' behavior better. And the open comments on the survey are just full of this ambition to have a better understanding of customers. And yet, each year, this barely moves. And the big question here is why, David? What is going on there?
Thanks, Sarah. Yes. Portals, one of the things I like about portals is that it's a great way for a company to demonstrate that they actually do know their customer. To Jeff's point, if I go to a site and I log in, I don't expect to have to re-enter my personal information every time I want to do something. It should already be in a system somewhere. The user doesn't have to know what system the information is stored in, but your digital experience should be able to pull that information from the relevant places to show this understanding of your customer. When your customers are logged in, it's critical that you're able to show that. But many times, to Jeff's point, that feeling like this organization knows who I am and they're using my information in a smart way isn't reflected in that online experience. Take, for example, this nuisance stat of 63% of customers saying that they're annoyed with the search field found in most portals because they are unable to provide the results they're actually looking for. Well, how do you make that search field better? How do you personalize it? You have the information at your disposal about what this customer does on your site, what products they've purchased in the past, what services they've signed up for. You should be able to bring that knowledge to the forefront. You can personalize their search experience, but it doesn't just stop at search. I mean, there are other tools out there that can help guide users to find the right answers faster and provide that personalized level of service that customers expect. Jeff, can you talk to us a little bit about that and how to, show that level of personalization to make it easier for customers to find answers?
Yeah, I think, at the end of the day, the search experience isn't the goal. The goal is to get answers, to solve problems. Search is one way to get there, but it's not the only way. And what I think it's better to focus on just making answers easier to find and making it easier for your customers to get the outcome that they want. And there's a variety of ways that we can use technology to help us do that. In fact, I think the technology that you use is really going to play a very big part in how you're able to meet these needs. And we do this, again, through personalization. I know we keep talking about personalization and coming back to it, but that's really an important part of this. We need to make sure that we're leveraging the technology to segment our users, to analyze their behavior, to understand the types of users you have, and then to be able to give them experiences that are personalized. So starting with things like personalized dashboards to bring all of that relevant content together for a customer. And that personalization, it needs to happen on a couple of different levels. So for example, at the account level, making sure that your accounts are seeing the notifications and promotions and the pricing that is specific to them or that they've negotiated through their contracts with you. Personalization should also happen at the deeper level based on a user's role. That means a technical user that's coming into the solution should be able to find answers to his or her questions that are more technical in nature, while a business user, maybe somebody from the accounts payable department, he or she is going to want to come in and be able to see invoice information right away and payment information. Now, modern customer portal should also promote issue deflection by displaying the right articles whenever a customer is starting to create a service ticket. Now, of course, search is important. Search does play a big part in finding answers. So it's important that we make our search as capable as possible by leveraging features such as the ability to boost or bury search results, as well as the way to easily create synonym sets. Different users from different geographies may use different terminology, and so we want to make sure that we're able to give them answers regardless of what local jargon they might be using. We also want to make sure that we're able to give context-aware search. So a search result that's actually smart enough to take into account factors about the user, about the account that user works for, what they've purchased from you in the past, taking all of that into account to give them a truly context and personalized set of search results. And then also make sure that we can search across all different types of content, not just one specific type of content or one specific type of system. Being able to pull search results from across the enterprise. And obviously, AI is in the news right now, so we want to make sure that you're working with a technology that's investing in AI that provides capabilities such as AI-powered chatbots, giving your users the ability to maybe scan for relevant information, start a conversation, and automatically transition that conversation to a live service rep when it becomes appropriate.
So Jeff's been talking here about the tools, a lot of the tools that are being used to help with search and to help improve the customer experience. So I thought I'd give you a little bit of context on what does it look like out there for tools? What typical tools does an organization have to help improve their customer experience? So the core tools for digital customer experience have been stable over the past several years. The top 5 here have been the same over the past 3 years, although not always in the same order. But these top 7 here are in use by at least half of the organizations in our survey. So these are the core digital customer experience technologies in use today. And what's interesting, what you'll notice here is that this is a kind of a basic, bare bones kind of a level here. This is the ability to communicate through email marketing, to have some understanding of your customers through your CRM, do a little bit of management, some social media, and some content management, right? But what's really fascinating in our data set is that so many organizations are planning to adopt so many more tools and platforms in the near future. So there were 15 different customer experience tools that 30% or more of the organizations we surveyed said they're planning to adopt in the next year. And the implication there is that CX professionals feel like their current tools don't give them the capabilities that they really need. So what capabilities are they looking for, right? So let's take a look at that. When we look at the tools that organizations are planning to adopt in the near future, so these demonstrate a range of technologies that will deliver a much more sophisticated digital experience. And these include, the top answer is 42% of organizations who plan to adopt a digital experience platform, which is pretty amazing, given that implementing a DXP is a significant investment of time and resources. Organizations are also planning to adopt customer experience management software, digital asset management, journey orchestration software, and customer data platforms. And these are just the top 5 of 15 tools that 1/3 or more say that they will adopt in the next year or two. And this gives me hope, that we're likely to see more organizations say that their tools are working well in the next couple of years. It really seems that organizations are yearning for these more sophisticated capabilities.
Thanks, Sarah. That leads into, I think, what is the magic sauce of DXPs, ensuring a seamless experience. In our stats, we found that 43% of respondents believe they're currently switching between too many apps to get their basic work done, with 67% of respondents stating it would be easier to focus on work if important information appeared in a single window. That's music to our ears because, as you were saying, companies are planning on buying more tools, not fewer tools. So you need a way to a DXP provides a nice way to integrate those tools into a seamless experience. For example, you might have a ticketing system to create support tickets. You might have an ordering system to place, manage, and track orders. You also might have an e-learning platform where users can view or get training on their products or services. If you're forcing your customers to like navigate between different systems with different interfaces that, some look nice, some not so nice, it's really jarring, right? To have to navigate disparate interfaces. And sometimes it causes people to just stop what they're doing because they're like, wait a minute, am I even on the right site anymore? And this is where a DXP can help tremendously, because it can just help you pull all that information into a single user experience, a single interface, so that customers aren't having to jump around different experiences, and they're not getting frustrated and having to call your support staff to figure out simple things that they can do on their site. So the fact that people are investing in DXPs is great, because I think that the main strength of a DXP is its ability to integrate these disparate systems and create one seamless user experience for your customers. Jeff, I was going to ask you how we can use a customer portal to integrate these different tools, talk a little bit more in depth about how that's done and create a more seamless user experience, especially given the fact that, according to Sarah's research, people are planning on investing in more tools in the future and not less. But before we get to that, let's do our last poll question, which centers around integration, and specifically how well our audience is doing with integration. The question is, how well are your organization's systems connected with integrations? So I just wanted to get a sense of that from the audience. Some people might be very connected. Others are like, jumping around from system to system. Just wanted to get kind of a general sense of where people are.
It's a critical area, David. Like when you think about how many tools are already being used for customer experience and how many more people are planning to be using in the future, like it just creates a lot of complexity for employees and also for customers. And I'm incredibly interested to see how well people say their systems are already integrated. We'll just give people a little bit more time here.
Yep, we'll give them a few more seconds.
All
right. Should we go ahead and send the results so everyone can see? Here we go. I'm going to go and do that now. 3, 2, 1.
Fantastic.
Okay. Well, this is good. The fact that we have 50% of our audience saying that they're doing well with integration, that's encouraging. On the not so well side, we only have, between not so well and no integrations in place, we have 10% of the audience. Jeff, does that surprise you? Maybe you want to talk about the right ways to integrate and how you can use a customer portal to make that integration even better than what it is today.
Yeah, no, I think that's those are encouraging numbers. I think obviously, when you talk to different organizations, depending on where they are in their journey, you're going to get very different results. So I think with this audience, it's clear that a lot of the participants are further along in that journey than others. It can be challenging, and I think the reason that we see a lot of companies that are maybe not as integrated as they would like to be is just because it's technically challenging to make these systems to work together. It's challenging from an organizational level to get this data to flow, and in some cases to have people relinquish some control over some of their systems. But the payoff is that it's going to yield rewards for your customers and for your own internal users as well. It's possible for you to start small, take a phased approach, focus on integrating the systems that are going to provide the highest value first, and initially just concentrating on one-way flow of data, getting data into the customer portal where it can be surfaced to that right audience. Again, giving your audience the right information at the right time. But to truly achieve that seamless experience that David is talking about, that we're trying to get to, it's not enough to just bring that data in there and surface it. We need to make that data actionable. Actionable in the context of the customer portal. So it's not about clicking a link and flowing out someplace else, but right within that portal, being able to take action on that data. And again, to get this to work, we need to have that data that's going to be able to flow in both directions. Once we do that, then we're going to have that modern customer portal, a customer portal that's going to allow us to provide users with that central location to make all of their updates. Might be updates to their customer account information. It might be updates to pricing, or even updates to inventory. You're going to be able to bring all different pieces of data together, unlocking insights that you might not have had when the data was in isolation. So again, bringing all of that data together and really magnifying the value of all of the data. Bring these different data points together to provide a consistent branded experience. So again, in the past, when we had to jump from system to system, we would have some cases, very jarring experiences when I jumped from one system to another. But now if we can bring this together and provide a consistent experience, it's going to be a lot more pleasant for our end users. They're going to feel more confident in the accuracy of the data. And again, the goal should be to continuously be streamlining experiences. A good customer portal should never be stagnant. We should be evolving and connecting new experiences over time, so that people can do more and more from that single point of entry that we're giving them into the customer portal.
Jeff, do you want to talk a little bit? Because I thought when you showed me these screens and you kind of walked through the story a little bit, I thought it was really impressive, right? Like that first screen that you have here with the dashboard, right? The fact that you're getting information. If you want to talk through it, yeah. But what I remember is like you're getting information from sensors, it's coming in, it's not just showing you information, it's allowing users to like click in and enter a ticket. If you want to talk a little bit about that, I think that's like powerful demonstration.
Sure, yeah, and it's hard with the static screenshots that we have here, but I think it is a great story because of the types of systems that customers are using, because of the type of connectivity that we're seeing. IoT sensors, throughout the shop floor. We in some cases will have access to that information. We'll be able to surface that information. We'll be able to give your technical users insights so that they can be more proactive. In this case, this is an example of somebody being a little more proactive with their servicing their equipment. They're able to see that there is a sensor that's reporting a potential issue. And again, talking about making that data actionable, from right here, I can click into the sensor or the particular warning, and that's going to take me right into a form that I can then fill out in order to schedule a diagnostic visit from a technician. Again, the form is already filled out with the information that was provided. We're not asking the user to repeat this information. The sensor captured the data, so we're automatically going to fill that into the form. And we're just going to make it a little bit easier for our end users to be more proactive, in this case with expensive equipment that's going to hopefully prolong the life of that equipment and give them the type of experience that's going to make you the preferred vendor for them.
Yep. Sarah, do you want to, I wanted you to interject a little bit to see what you're finding in your surveys regarding integration and how well or not well organizations are doing in that regard.
Right. And like one of the other ways, so Jeff is talking about like creating a really seamless experience for customers. And one of the other ways to create a more seamless and relevant experience for customers is actually through leveraging AI. And the interesting thing is that most CX leaders are aware of this. We've been asking them for the past couple of years now where they think AI and machine learning will have the most impact on their customer experience. And years ago, when we were asking about this, they they really weren't sure. They really didn't know exactly what AI was good for or what they would be using it for. But over the past few years, this really seems to have become, crystal clear. And the top two answers are by enabling customer self-service, and personalization is critical to successful self-service, and by gaining actionable customer insights. And Jeff was just talking about the actionable information that really helps you to make interventions or changes that personalize that experience for the customer. And allow you to improve, iterate and improve on that experience that the customer is having. And if you remember in our discussion about understanding customer behavior, the majority of organizations tell us that they have tools in place to get a better understanding of customers, but it often doesn't translate into action, and this is an area where AI can really help.
Yeah. No, well said, Sarah. So we've reached our next section. Our last section is equipping teams with intuitive tools to keep your portal current. Okay, this is all about users just thinking really poorly of you when they come to your site to get something done, and they realize that like all the information you have is like 1 or 2 years old. Everything's outdated. 81% of users think less of a company if it's not updated. I read this and I totally get it, right? If the tools aren't easy to use for the teams that service your customers, updates aren't going to be made quickly. But Sarah, before we get to Jeff, you actually had some great stats on this, on how important tools are when it comes to delivering that great customer experience.
Right. So one of the things that we've been super interested in at CMSWire is the connection between employee experience and customer experience. And here's what we know about that. The digital experience of your employees is also critical as your tech stack, to helping to improve the customer experience. And CX leaders really know this. 72% of CX leaders say that the digital experience of their employees is very or moderately important in the quality of their digital customer experiences. So, as David was saying, employees who don't have the right customer information, they suggest the wrong courses of action. They make customers repeat themselves. They miss sales opportunities. Employees who don't have the right tools find it hard to be agile, to respond to customer needs. And when customers are unhappy, employees bear the brunt of their frustration and get frustrated themselves. It's kind of a reverse circle of virtue. And we've also been asking CX leaders about the places where they see employee experience impacting customer experience. And the place where they really see that impact, there's two places. One is in collaboration tools. So having easy access to information on customers, ideas and innovation platforms that lead to an improved customer experience, easy access to information on products and services, and knowledge management for contact center staff. So when you look at all of these, the parts of the employee experience that are the most impactful to the customer experience are those that directly relate to sales and contact center staff having the right collaboration tools and ready access to information on customers, products, and services.
Jeff, related to that, what can a DXP offer customers so that they're able to keep their portal current? It doesn't go out of date. What are some of the things that you should be looking for?
Yeah, I think, at the beginning of a project, we always have the best intentions of keeping things fresh and up to date. But without the right tools, those best laid plans can pretty easily go off the rails. And so it's essential to ensure that your customer portal, the solution, the technology that you're working with, gives you those tools. When we talk about technology, making it easy to do the right things, we want to have auto monitoring of content. We want to be able to set up schedules so that we know when content needs to be reviewed, send out reminders so that people are being reminded to go out and take care of those tasks. We want to use analytics tools so that we can actually track what content is being used, what content is leading to successful outcomes. So being able to have that insight into the content that leads a customer through a journey that results in a sale, or that results in a customer answering the question for themselves and not opening up a support ticket or having to pick up the phone. You want to make sure that you're using a platform that provides low-code tools that make it easy for any user, not just your IT people, but any user to create applications to streamline their workflows, streamline their processes, build new pages, build new content. And you want to make sure that you've got very strong out-of-the-box capabilities for collaboration, like Sarah was talking about, whether that be message boards and wikis, knowledge management applications, or just templates that make it easier for people to fill in the information. They've got the content in their head, but without the right templates to capture that information and standardize it can be a challenge.
Got it. It looks like we're kind of getting close on time here. So Jeff, maybe we have the customer success stories. We have on the slides. People can take a look at them if they download the slide, but maybe pick one customer success example that you think is really illustrative of a great customer experience, using a DXP to make that happen.
Oh, you're going to make me pick one, David. My favorite. I think maybe I like a lot of the aspects of the story about Tag. So if I had to pick one, that might be one that I would choose. Now, Tag is it's part of a very old company. They've been around for a long time in the financial printing business. They over the years split into two business units, and Tag, the business unit that we're working with in this case study, is a provider of printing services or production printing services, marketing material. So if you go into a store and you see a big printed, maybe a big cardboard display for your favorite cola brand right before the Super Bowl, or your favorite brand of potato chips, they might be the company that's behind that. And so the challenge that they had was that the customer interaction process was very, very high touch. It happened offline. There was no way to really automate the process of their customers buying these types of materials, shipping these types of materials. It gets very confusing sometimes as to even who's kind of the customer, because you have the national brand, you have local regional distributors, you have stores themselves. Sometimes it's the store, the Target or the Walmart, that's reaching out and ordering. And so they really had a hard time trying to turn that into a digital process. They also had, over the years, grown with many, many different siloed systems. And so placing that order was hard. Checking on the status of the order was just as hard. And so what they were looking for, and what they found in Liferay, was a solution that really empowered their B2B users with a simplified ordering process, an intuitive user interface. They kind of hid all of that complexity that was happening on the back end and gave their end users a very B2C-like shopping experience where they could order these materials, they could design new materials. The platform actually allowed for them to integrate a graphical editor so that they could make simple changes to the artwork before they ordered something to be printed and deliver. So they ended up with that single consolidated platform that simplified the process for them. The architecture, and I think really ultimately the reason that they selected us, the fact of the matter was nobody could do everything they needed, but the architecture of Liferay was such that when they needed us to kind of get out of the way and provide that customized experience to match their processes, Liferay allowed them to do that very easily and create what behind the scenes was very complicated, but to their customers was actually a very simple ordering experience.
Thank you, Jeff. I just want to remind the audience that we do have resources that you can download if you download this presentation today, or when you get to the copy of the presentation, we have a link, and you'll get a link to the ebook that covers this information in depth, and also case studies that you can read more about. You'll also get a link to Sarah's research that she talked about today. But now we have 5 minutes left. And so let's see if we can get to a few of the questions.
All right, excellent.
Okay.
Let's get into some Q&A. I think we've got a little bit of time for about 1 or 2 questions. Up first, what are some of the things businesses can build using no-code/low code tools without needing IT or developer assistance?
I think the first thing to look at would be all of the different types of manual processes that involve spreadsheets. I think any company that looks around, they're going to find things that are being done in spreadsheets that really shouldn't be. And I love spreadsheets. I think they're great for for what they're intended for. But I see too many processes that evolve a combination of complicated spreadsheet and tacit knowledge that is inside of somebody's head. And putting those two is the only way that something is getting done within the company. And if somebody leaves, we don't have a repeatable process. So, I would look to those types of business processes that are, that are kind of quasi automated, but aren't really.
Gotcha. And one more question here. How do you think AI will be used in the personalization of customer experience?
For me personally, I think AI is going to be critical. It's the only way that we're going to really truly get personalization at scale. We're going to need help in finding and identifying that segments. We can do some segmentation on our own, but I think using AI to help us with that, identifying segments of users so that we can create experiences for them is going to be important. I think AI is going to help us with making recommendations to them, whether it be content recommendations or whether it be actual product recommendations to them. And I'm really interested. I know generative AI is kind of at the early stages, but I'm interested to kind of see where it goes and is it going to actually be able to produce content on demand that's meaningful once we're able to allow the generative AI to use content that the organization has owned, has curated, and has approved. Just what kind of content can be created from that. So I think we're going to need to rely on it to get the type of personalization that we want to see.
All right, excellent. And I think that's going to be our time for today. I want to thank Liferay for sponsoring today's webinar. Thank you, David. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Sarah, for your time. And last but not least, thanks to all of you in the audience for your time and attention. Today's webinar has been recorded, and you'll be receiving a follow-up email along with a download of the slides and the ebook mentioned a little bit earlier. So keep an eye on your inbox for that. And in the meantime, thank you all once more, and we will see you on the next one.